This is Spike, so everybody can see how handsome Spike is. And this is Spike's roadmap to success. I have a handful of treats here, so if you see him going nuts, that's what he's looking for. All right, so he is a herding breed. He freaks out when they're construction. I think that he thinks he's in charge of the world. And part of it's probably a lack of rules and structure. Sit. Sit. Remember, every time you give a treat, they should hear the command word after the treat goes in their mouth, not just for sit for anything. Now he's demanding attention from me. If I give him the treat, then that validates, and I think that's some part of his problem is he's had a lot of people that petted him at times where it confused him into thinking that he was in charge. So to flip the leader-follower dynamic, well, before we get to that, increasing his exercise will help dramatically. He's getting exercise more than most of my clients do, but not as much as he needs. So your average dog needs an hour's worth of exercise. He's getting about a half of that a day. But there's other ways to exercise. We have a set of stairs over here. I would go to the stairs, throw the treat down. When he licks it up, come up with a word that means to go down south. And then come up with another word that you give to him when he comes to the top of the stairs. Maybe you say Canada. And so the first time, go with an empty stomach, keep on throwing those treats and count each down up as one. And keep doing that until he says, you're crazy, I'm not going down there anymore. Now we know his maximum number is, and we want to exercise him about 50 to 75% of that maximum number 2 to 5 times a day. Now we can also do some scent games. That's just Google the scent games. Look for a couple of free articles if you like. So there's DVDs and stuff that you can buy on that. And exercising him before a walk, before we have people coming over, before the construction guys come over. The more that we exercise him and deplete that top level of energy, the even better equipped he's going to be to deal with certain situations. Exercise doesn't cause many problems, although it can be a cause of anxiety. I find it more of a multiplier. It's going to amplify the other issues that you have. So exercising and increasing his exercise, I'd suggest you start an exercise journal, document, put down a new page for each day, and then just at the time and the barking incident, the time and the amount of exercise, the time and when he freaked out about this, that, and the other thing. Everything dog related that's unusual. Put a sentence to it. It doesn't have to be a paragraph, but after a while you start noticing, every time when he freaks out the construction guys, it's when it's been over 3 hours since he's been exercised. Now there's something else I didn't show you here. It's a Kickstarter thing. I don't think it's not, I haven't gotten mine yet, but it might be good for him. It's called a VRAM pet robot. I think it's VRRAM or VRAAM. It's on Kickstarter. Basically it looks like the tube that you put your money in when you go to the bank and it goes except for this is a robot that rolls around the floor and spits out treats for your dog. So it's a nice interactive toy. It's something you might want to consider for him. Being a herding breed, he might like it. He might freak out about it. So, but helping his exercise is going to be important. We also talked about flipping the leader-follower dynamic by incorporating rules and structure. So some of the rules I go through real quick. Not being allowed to be in the kitchen where we're preparing food, not around the humans who are eating food, not allowed in the furniture. Get the exits, that's demand blocking. And so if I correct him or I give him a treat, then that's going to make it worse. And this is basically petulance. He's like, I just am spoiled and I'm used to getting my way, and if I'm not getting my way, I'm going to throw a temper tantrum. So the more that we enforce these rules, the more he starts to see us acting like a leader, which will help one of the issues. Another rule is I would say that he has to sit before we let him out the door. Go to the door, say sit. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds of the first time we say it, walk away, sit down somewhere, and then wait 1 minute. Next time I walk away for 2 minutes, then for 4 minutes, then 8 minutes. That would be my thumbnails. I know I got a treat there. Check out my nails. And also make sure we're not repeating the command word. One of the guardians likes to repeat the command word over and over again. Well, then we're just watering down our authority. So come up with a watchword. Call it repeat or rerun. If somebody's saying the command word multiple times, you say it once. If he doesn't do it, then I'm on to other things. Sit. So he's not going to get a treat because he didn't do what I asked him to do. And as soon as he does get SIT, we're going to pet him, and that's passive training, which we'll talk about in a sec. So other rules that he should have to, and first do it going out the door, but eventually do it in both directions. And then any door, going out of any door in the house, he has to go in or out. He's got to sit anywhere. All right, another rule that we would have is he needs to, because I didn't correct him or reply, you saw he settled down. So basically another rule that I have is he should eat in the order of rank. Whoever's feeding him eats something first. Then they put his food down. He has now 1 minute to come to his bowl. If he doesn't come to his bowl in 1 minute, I pick it up and dump it and put the empty bowl back down. It's important to put the empty bowl back down. And if he goes and starts eating it, as soon as he's eating it, as soon as he walks away, pick up the bowl, dump it empty, put the bowl back down. You eat what I tell you to eat, or you don't get food until the next meal. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes a day or two before he eats. But this way we have another puppy in the house. We don't have to worry about guarding food and all the rest of that stuff. And it's a very important activity for dogs. So having dominion over it just really elevates us as authority figures. Let me see. He likes to bark to get up about 2 in the morning. And one of the guardians, he sleeps actually right behind me in this room, and the guardian's been getting up and letting him out, but that validates that. So she's been starting to not do that, but then he just barks and disturbs everyone in the house. What I would do is I'd probably do this, start this on a weekend. It is Friday, right? My days all run together. When you work every day of the week, it kind of blurs together. But basically what I would do is maybe do it on a weekend so we're not worried about getting up the next morning. And we can do a couple of things. So as soon as he first barks, if he's on the bed, he should be ejected off of the bed. And just use your sheets. If he's right there, just put your feet towards him, and it's like a wave, and the bed comes and knocks me off. So he loses the status of being on the bed, and I would recommend that he is not allowed on the bed until the guardian he sleeps with invites him up. And that way it's her bed, and she's sharing with him. So she gets her PJs on, gets in bed, reads, does whatever, and she invites and says, I have this part of the bed for you. And it's good for good behavior. So if he starts barking, he loses that privilege. And if he continues to bark or he pulls the covers, I would have the guardian get up and leave the room and close the door behind you. We call this a negative punishment. We're deducting ourselves from the equation. And so you're barking for demands, go ahead and shift it over and put it on your knee if it's more comfortable for you. The barking is basically a demand for attention. Even if we correct or give him a dirty look, that's validating for him. But if the barking causes the person to leave, well, that's the opposite of what I'm trying to accomplish. But you have to do it right away. So the first bark, you're ejected from the couch or the bed. The second bark, I get up and leave and come, and have some covers out here. And you might have to sleep out here. If he barks like crazy, just wait until he stops barking. If you want to go back in there, wait for 1 minute of no, or about 20 seconds of no barking. Then you can go back in there. But if he barks again, immediately get up the first bark. Don't do the third bark, because you're going to confuse him as where the threshold is. It'll probably be a couple of days, but eventually he's going to realize, shoot, that makes me lose the privilege or access to her. Now, if he does start destroying things in there or marking or something like that, then we might want to use a kennel, and then there are consequences you put in the kennel. I'm really not a big fan of that because I want the kennel to be a positive place. He doesn't use a kennel, so it'd be okay, but we'd like the kennel to be a positive place, so if we do have to travel or put him in a vet's office or a daycare, he's comfortable, he doesn't look as a negative. Okay, so we also went over using a martingale collar. The guardians were using a collar that I don't really like because it's a pain-causing device. And so we explained why, and I showed them how to use a martingale collar. I'm guessing they're going to get one from me. And remember to use that special twist of the leash. Make sure it's in the armpits and doesn't drift down. Sometimes it'll drift down, so make sure it's in the armpits. And it goes behind both front legs. A lot of people go this way. It does not go in between them. It goes behind both front legs. And I have 5 rules for a structured walk. If you forget what those are, go to doggroundproblems.com, click on dog training tips. On the right side of the page on a desktop, you'll see a search box. If it's on the phone, it's at the bottom of the list. You can type in structured walk. I'll have hundreds, probably plus videos of me doing it and explain all the ins and outs of the walks there, so I don't have to go through it here. Let me see. We also went over petting with a purpose and passive training. Petting with a purpose is if I want to pet the dog or the dog is demanding attention from me, I'm going to give him a counter order. When he sits or does whatever it is, I'm going to pet him under his chin and say the word sit only. I can pet him as much or as little as I want to. At least one pet to as many pets as you want. So now he has to earn his affection by doing something we like. This will help add structure to reinforcing or to something we do over and over again. And remember to use the word paycheck. If you suspect someone's petting without a purpose, that person has to stop petting, tell him to sit. If he's already sitting, ask him to sit over here or lay down. He has to just do something to change his state or prepay for attention, which he will quickly start doing. Now, there's also passive training. So every time he comes to you, pet him and say, come. Every time he sits down next to him, says, sit. Every time he brings you a toy, name each individual toy. Call this one Green Goblin or whatever you want to call it. One-word commands would be better. And that way you have a vocabulary. Speaking of vocabulary, remember to throw the treats here. And what's the word of this? I forgot already.
Mendoza.
Mendoza. And then also remember to split the treats and go to every doorway in your house and throw one treat out, let him go out and get it and say the word out. And then do it a second time, go to every doorway in the house, and then repeat the whole circuit, but this time throw the treat inside, and then we say kitchen, dining room, living room, media. Drop the treat. That'll be underneath the speaker. We'll get that later. Okay, so petting with a purpose is if he initiates contact. Passive training is waiting for him to organically offer. So right there, that could have been a come. I'll do it right here. Come. So he came. I didn't ask him to come. I have treats, but I didn't show him I had the treats. And he did what I wanted. Sit. So I asked him to do it one time, and if he does it, he gets a reward. If he doesn't, he gets no reward. And remember, the stopping of your affection or attention, crash or down, is very powerful. So he didn't get what he wanted. He didn't protest this time, even though I have a plethora of treats here. He just kind of gave it up, and then he got a little attention for doing that. So remember, the more we pet our dogs for the things we want, the more they will start to emulate those behaviors. We have really, we're in the Hollywood Hills. Let's consider Hollywood Hills, right? Los Feliz. Okay. So, but it's beautiful views. The house has great views and great windows, but it creates a little bit of a visual thing for him, and he's barking at a lot of things outside the house. So for the door in the front, I would probably get some just white paper. So it's just really a filter. It lets the light in, but it just filters a little bit, just for the bottom part of the window. And I would do it about 6 or 8 inches taller than the highest high he can jump up. So that way he goes to the window, he jumps up, he can't see out there. That doesn't reinforce and validate that. Now the video above, we went over how to use counter conditioning, and I did for the visual, for the sound, as well as, for the doorbell, as well as knocking. So again, if the doorbell is too intense, put him all the way downstairs before you do. I'm dropping treats like crazy. But put him all the way downstairs, as far away, and you might have to have somebody muffle this when you're doing the sound, because that was what he was the most reactive to. But if you do this systematically, eventually the doorbell rings, and then he's like, who's giving me a treat? Instead of barking. Now remember, when we're going out the door, we always go through the door first. When you're coming back on a walk, don't let him run up and down those stairs ahead of you. Keep the leash short, but don't keep it tense, and pop it every time he tries to go, and stop periodically going up and down the stairs so he knows I just have to stop. Let me see. I don't know I didn't ask him how many commands he has. I'm not a trainer, I'm a behaviorist. I can do some basic commands, but teaching your dogs some new tricks or skills is a nice way to redirect the dog's attention, and it's also a good way to build up the dog's self-esteem and respect for you as an authority figure. If you go to YouTube, all these dog trainers want a TV show. So they'll explain how to do all the ins and outs of all these different exercises for free. So what would be nice is if you guys could all take turns practicing and teaching the dog. Maybe on Sunday, our guardian here, she takes care and she teaches the dog to roll over. And then all week long, you want your food, roll over. You want to go outside, roll over. You want me to pet you, roll over. By the end of the week, you look at the dog, it's just rolling over. And then next week, the next guardian takes over, and that person teaches them to play dead. Bang your dead and roll over should always be taught right after the other uses pretty much the same technique. And the next guardian maybe teaches how to get the dog beer from the fridge, or wipe its paws, or roll over, or whatever these things are. So the more of these things that we teach our dogs, we have different ways to redirect their attention, and it also helps boost the dog's self-esteem. Now, one last little thing is when you're walking, what you might want to do is have somebody walk behind you at either your 5 o'clock or your 7 o'clock position. So kind of shooting the angle towards you. And do this anytime you're seeing a dog's approach. So you can actually see your dog in the foreground and the other dog in the background, and you can actually later on a big screen TV, watch it in slow motion and pause it back and forth, and you start recognizing what your dog's communications are. Dogs have a fight or flight response, and I think in this case, that is contributing to things. I think the dog is thinking, I need to run away from something, but the leash is preventing me from doing it, so I'm going to act tough to make the person move away. If we can learn what the dog's body language is and his communication methods when he's uncomfortable, often things that they do is they lower their head and stare, or they stare off to the side or intentionally don't look at the thing, or they turn their head to the side, they lick their lips. If anybody reaches for a dog that turns his head to the side, it's saying, I prefer you don't touch me. People pet him anyways. So licking the lips, yawning, baring the teeth, hackles going up, which is probably hard for him to see. I'd say tail going up, but he's a hussy, he doesn't have a tail. Breathing heavy or holding their breath, tension, moving very slowly. These can be warning signs. So if you kind of watch your dog from the 5 o'clock position on a video when you encounter different dogs, and also the dogs you encounter will also interact or have an impact. If you have a dog that's like going crazy, bouncing all over, your dog's probably more reactive at a greater distance. If you have another dog that's walking in a very nice, peaceful, calm gait right next to the guardian, your dog probably can get a lot closer. Now remember, front-facing is confrontational, sideways is approachable. So if you're walking towards another dog and you see him lurking back, or he's pulling or doing some of those signs, you want to immediately get his attention and walk down somebody's driveway or walk in the street around a car if it's safe to do so. Walk around, give him some space so he says, I don't have to bark and make that other dog go away. My guardians listen to what I said and they move me out of position so I don't have to take care of it myself. Use those 4 escalating consequences to disagree with unwanted actions and behaviors. If you forget what those are, those also on my website. I'm trying to think, is there anything else we went over that you want me to discuss? X-mats, get the letter X, M-A-T-S for the carpet here, for the couch here, so you don't have to have the thing that the guardians have on the couch now. And also look for a carpet store and just get a nice piece of carpet that is the color you want and the fabric you want. It won't be sewed on the edges, but if he does mark on it temporarily, you don't mind throwing it away. The marking is related to him not having a lot of rules. So the more rules we have, really for most of my clients, there's 4 things that I ask them to do. Up the dog's exercise, so we deplete the exercise and find out how much exercise they need. That's why we start the exercise journal. Number 2, introduce and enforce rules consistently for at least 66 days so that the dog can see you acting like a leader. Petting with a purpose, adding structure to giving him affection, so he has to earn it. Even if I want to pet him, I tell the dog to sit. And then rewarding when he offers things that we like on his own. Every time he brings me this, I say greenie. Or every time he brings me the zebra, I say stripes. Or whatever these things are. He sits, I pet him and say sit. So now we're rewarding him for things that we want. And the more that we do this, the more he's going to continue to do that. And then in his case, the maintenance and then deprogramming him with the counter conditioning will help fix the rest of the problems. Spike, come up with a list of the official command words and tape it to the refrigerator. Sit, come. And whenever you're coming up with these new command words, come up with fun words. If I want my dog to roll over, I say stunt dog. My dog flops over, people laugh. So coming up with these fun command words can really be beneficial. And if you see your dog scratching somewhere, you can scratch for him. That's kind of a nice thing to do. Well, this is Spike, and this is Spike's roadmap to success. Oh, also don't pet your dog when it's nervous, anxious, or fearful. You can lay your hand on him, but don't pet him. All right, this is Spike's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.